For most of your life, you have been told a lie about karma. You were told it lives out there in the things that happen to you. A reward for good deeds, a punishment for bad ones, a cosmic accountant keeping score, deciding what you deserve. So you watch your actions, you try to be good, and still something feels off because no matter how carefully you behave, the same fears keep returning, the same anger keeps rising, the same story keeps repeating. But the Buddha pointed somewhere else entirely, somewhere far more intimate and far more powerful. He taught that karma does not begin with your hands. It does not begin with your words. It begins in a place so quiet that almost no one thinks to look there. It begins with a single thought, arising in the silence of your own mind long before anyone else can see it. And here is why that changes everything. If karma began with your actions, you would spend your whole life managing the surface, controlling behavior, performing goodness, exhausted by the effort. But if karma begins with thought, then the true cause of your suffering and the true source of your freedom has been sitting inside you the entire time, closer than your breath, waiting to be understood. In the next few minutes, we are going to walk through why the Buddha placed thought at the very root of karma and what it means for the life you are living right now. Stay with me, because the seventh reason is the one that quietly rearranges everything. To understand this, we have to go back to what the Buddha actually said, not the watered-down version, the real teaching. There is a moment recorded in the ancient texts where the Buddha gives a definition so precise it should stop us in our tracks. He said, "It is intention, monks, that I call karma. Having intended, one acts through body, speech, and mind." Read that again slowly. Intention, not action, not consequence. The inner movement of the mind that comes before you ever lift a finger. That is where karma is born. And in the very first lines of the Dhammapada, the collection of the Buddha's sayings, he opens not with rules, not with rituals, but with the mind. Mind precedes all things. Mind is their chief. They are all mind-made. If a person speaks or acts with an impure thought, suffering follows, as the wheel follows the hoof of the ox that pulls the cart. If a person speaks or acts with a pure thought, happiness follows, like a shadow that never leaves. The Buddha begins his entire teaching by pointing at the mind because he understood something we constantly forget. Every word you have ever spoken, every action you have ever taken was a thought first. So let us look one reason at a time at why karma starts with thought, and why that truth matters more than almost anything else you will learn. 1. Every action is a thought that grew up. Look closely at anything you have ever done, and you will find a thought standing behind it. Before you spoke the harsh word, there was a flash of irritation. Before you reached for comfort, there was a whisper of craving. Before you helped someone, there was a quiet stirring of kindness. Nothing you do arrives out of nowhere. It is a thought that grew up, put on clothes, and walked out into the world. The Buddha understood the mind as a field and every thought as a seed. A single seed looks like nothing. You can hold it in your palm and barely feel its weight. But inside that seed is the entire blueprint of the tree. Plant a seed of resentment in the morning, water it with attention all day, and by evening you have a forest of anger you cannot walk out of. Plant a seed of patience, and something very different grows. The action is never the beginning. The action is the fruit. The seed was the thought. Consider two travelers who each give a coin to a beggar on the road. From the outside, the act is identical, but one gives while silently thinking, "Look at this person, so weak, so beneath me," and the other gives while thinking, "May you be well, friend." The hand moved the same way, the coin was the same coin. Yet in the field of the mind, two completely different seeds were planted, and over a lifetime of such moments, two completely different human beings will grow. The Buddha saw that the visible deed tells you almost nothing. It is the invisible intention behind it that carries the weight. This is why simply controlling your behavior never brings lasting peace. You can force a smile over a mind full of contempt, but the contempt is still ripening, still shaping you, still leaking out in ways you do not notice. The Buddha invites you to go upstream, to the source, to the moment the seed is planted, because if you change the seed, you change everything that grows from it. And that means the first place to look is never at what you did. It is at what you were thinking the instant before. But knowing that thought comes first raises a harder question, which brings us to the second reason. 2. The mind you repeat is the mind you become. A thought that visits once is a passing cloud. A thought you invite back again and again becomes something else. It becomes a groove, a path worn into the mind, until the mind begins to travel it automatically without your permission. The Buddha described this long before modern science had the language for it. He taught that whatever we frequently think and ponder upon becomes the inclination of the mind. Think often of frustration, and the mind slowly tilts toward frustration, ready to find it everywhere. Think often of gratitude, and the mind begins to lean quietly toward what is good. You are not just having thoughts, you are training the very instrument that produces them. Neuroscientists today call this neuroplasticity, the way repeated mental activity physically reshapes the brain. The Buddha called it karma. The mechanism is the same. What you repeat, you reinforce. What you reinforce, you become. This is the hidden karma most people never see. It is not only that a cruel thought might one day become a cruel act, it is that the cruel thought, repeated, makes you into a slightly crueler person, thought by thought, day by day, until one morning you wake up as someone you never chose to be. And it works just as powerfully in the other direction. Every gentle thought you practice is a vote for the person you are becoming. Nobody witnesses this quiet election happening inside you, but you are counting the votes every single day. Which leads us to something the Buddha said about the suffering we create not from the world, but from our own reaction to it. 3. The second arrow is one you fire at yourself. The Buddha once asked his students a simple question. When a person is struck by an arrow, is that painful? Yes, they said. And when that same person is struck by a second arrow in the very same spot, is that more painful still? Of course. Then he revealed the teaching. In life, he said, we cannot always avoid the first arrow. The first arrow is what actually happens. The loss, the insult, the illness, the disappointment. It comes and it hurts, and that is simply being alive. But the second arrow, he explained, we fire into ourselves. The second arrow is the storm of thought we wrap around the event. The replaying, the blaming, the imagining of everything that might go wrong next. The endless commentary that turns one moment of pain into hours, days, sometimes years of suffering. The first arrow was thrown by life. The second arrow is thrown by the mind. There is an old story of a monk who was insulted by an angry villager in the marketplace. The villager shouted, cursed, and stormed off, and by evening had forgotten the whole thing entirely. But the monk carried the insult home. He turned it over at dinner. He replayed it as he lay down. He argued with the villager in his mind for hours in the dark. The next morning, exhausted, he realized the truth. The villager had thrown one arrow and walked away. The monk had spent the entire night firing arrow after arrow into his own heart and calling it the villager's fault. And this is the karma of thought made unmistakably clear. Two people can lose the same thing. One grieves, feels it fully, and slowly finds their way back to peace. The other builds a prison out of thoughts about the loss and lives inside it for a decade. The event was identical. The karma was completely different because the thinking was different. Understanding this does not make you cold, and it does not mean you deny your pain. It means you finally see where so much of your suffering is actually being manufactured, not out there, in here, in the second arrow you never realized you were holding. And once you see that, you begin to notice something unsettling about the thoughts nobody else can see. 4. Your hidden thoughts shape your life. Here is something worth pausing on. You can hide a thought from the entire world. You can smile while resenting. You can nod while judging. You can appear calm while a quiet war rages behind your eyes. No one will ever know. And yet the Buddha taught that hidden thought is still karma. It is still planting. It is still shaping who you are. He gave one of the most piercing images in all of spiritual teaching. Holding on to anger, he said, is like grasping a hot coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. The other person may never even know you were angry. But you held the fire. You felt the burn. That is the karma of a thought that never became an action, and it was working on you the whole time. And there is a subtler layer still. Your inner state does not stay perfectly hidden. It radiates. People cannot read your thoughts, but they can feel the atmosphere you carry. The person who secretly nurses contempt moves through the world tense and defensive, and the world, sensing it, grows tense in return. The person who cultivates goodwill becomes someone others soften around without either of them knowing why. Your thoughts are quietly writing the terms of every encounter you have. If this is landing with you, if you are starting to feel how much power lives in that inner space, take a second right now to subscribe, because everything we build from here rests on this one insight. Now, if hidden thought carries this much weight, what does that mean for the parts of your life you have blamed on fate? 5. You are not a victim of fate, but its author. This is where the Buddha's teaching becomes genuinely liberating, and it is the opposite of how most people use the word karma. When something goes wrong, we say, "It must be my karma," as if karma were a sentence handed down by the universe, a fate we are stuck with. But the Buddha taught almost the reverse. Karma is not the fixed hand you were dealt. It is the way you are playing the hand, thought by thought, in this very moment. Because karma begins with intention, and intention lives in the present. The present is always the point of power. The past has planted its seeds, yes. Some of what you feel today is the harvest of thoughts you practiced long ago. But the next seed, the one going into the ground right now, is entirely yours. No circumstance can reach into your mind and choose your response for you. That space, however small it feels, is where your freedom lives, and it is untouchable. Imagine two people who lost the same job on the same day. The first spends every morning replaying the injustice, rehearsing what he should have said, feeding a thought of bitterness until it hardens into how he sees the whole world. The second feels the sting, allows it, and then begins gently to plant a different thought. What is this making possible? A year later, their outer stories may look similar on paper, but inwardly they now live in two different universes because they spent that year planting two different seeds. The circumstance handed them the same soil. What grew was decided by the mind. Think of what this means. It means you are never merely a product of what happened to you. At every moment, you are also the author of what happens next, through the thoughts you choose to feed and the thoughts you choose to release. A difficult childhood, a painful betrayal, a run of bad luck, these are first arrows, and they are real. But the story you tell about them day after day is the karma you are actively creating. Change the thought you rehearse, and you begin slowly to change the life that grows from it. You are not a leaf carried by the wind. You are the one deciding, in secret, which way to lean. And that raises the practical question everyone eventually asks: if thought is this powerful, can it actually be trained? 6. A guarded mind is the root of a peaceful life. The Buddha did not simply diagnose the mind, he offered a way to work with it. And it begins with a skill so ordinary it is almost always overlooked: watching, not fighting your thoughts, not forcing them away, simply seeing them arrive, the way you might watch travelers passing through a gate. In the Dhammapada, he said, "The mind is hard to restrain, swift, and it flies wherever it wishes. To master it is good, for a controlled mind brings happiness." Notice he did not say a silent mind or an empty mind. He said a controlled mind, a mind you have befriended and learned to guide, and the first step of that mastery is awareness. The moment you notice a thought as a thought, something remarkable happens. You are no longer inside it, you are watching it. And whatever you can watch, you are no longer completely ruled by. Picture your mind as a gate, and each thought as a visitor requesting to enter and to stay. Most people leave the gate wide open. Every fear, every grievance, every craving wanders in, sits down, and makes itself at home. But the practitioner learns to stand at the gate, not slamming it, not straining, just noticing. Ah, here is anger. Here is worry. Here is the old story again. That simple recognition is the whole beginning of freedom, because a seed you notice is a seed you no longer have to plant. This is mindfulness, and it is not an escape from life. It is the guarding of the one place where your karma is actually made. Yet watching on its own is only half the practice. The Buddha pointed to one more step, and it is the one that quietly rearranges everything. 7. Plant the seeds you actually want to harvest. Awareness clears the ground, but the Buddha did not stop at clearing. He taught us to plant deliberately on purpose the seeds we actually want to grow. Because a mind that only removes bad thoughts and never cultivates good ones is like a cleared field left bare. Something will grow there eventually. The question is whether you chose it. This is why he taught the deliberate cultivation of loving kindness, of goodwill, of compassion as daily practice, not as decoration, as karma. When you quietly wish, "May I be at peace, may those around me be at peace, may all beings be free from suffering," you are not merely being nice. You are planting seeds in the field of the mind, seeds that will grow into your moods, your words, your actions, and eventually your character. You are directing your own becoming. The Buddha called this the mind of goodwill, and he said that even a single moment of it purifies and protects the one who holds it. And here is the quiet revolution hidden in all of this. If karma starts with thought, then you do not have to wait for the world to change, for people to apologize, for circumstances to finally cooperate, before you can begin building a better life. You can begin now in the only place karma has ever truly started. One deliberate thought, then another. A thought of patience where there was reactivity, a thought of gratitude where there was complaint, a thought of forgiveness where there was a held coal. Each one is a seed, each one is a vote, each one is the future arriving in miniature. You are not waiting for your karma. In this very moment, silently, you are writing it. The seed is in your hands. So let us return to where we began. Karma was never the cold accountant keeping score of your deeds. It was never a fate stamped on you at birth. The Buddha placed it somewhere far more hopeful and far more demanding. He placed it in the 1 square inch of the universe you actually govern. The thought arising in your mind right now. That is why it matters. Because it means your actions were seeds, and your repeated thoughts became your character, and your second arrows were self-inflicted, and your hidden resentments still burned your own hand, and your fate was never fixed, and your mind can be guarded, and your future can be planted on purpose. All of it traces back to one still, silent place that no one else can reach. The origin of your suffering and the doorway to your freedom share the same address. They both live in your thinking. You do not need to become perfect tonight. You only need to remember, the next time a thought arises, that it is not weightless. It is a seed. It is the very beginning of karma, and it is asking quietly to be planted or to be released. So watch it. Meet it with awareness. And when you can, choose the seed you would actually want to harvest, because the whole of your life is growing, one thought at a time, from the field of your own mind, and the seed, at last, is in your hands. If this reflection spoke to something in you, take a moment to let it settle before you scroll away. Subscribe to Mindfulness so we can keep walking this path together, one teaching at a time. Leave a comment with the one thought you want to plant more of in your life. I read every single one, and until we meet again, guard your mind gently, plant with care, and remember, the life you are living began as a thought, and the next one is already in your hands.